The viewers came for the comedy, but they came back for the people and the relationships. The writing created wonderfully real characters whom the audience could identify with. Yet even as the show took off, behind the scenes, Ted Danson and Shelley Long had differences that seemed to mirror their on-screen relationship.
Shelley and I, tension. You know, I think Shelley was a lot more like Diane Chambers than she's willing to admit. I think I was a lot more like Sam Malone than I was willing to admit. I think our styles were very different of acting, how we approached acting. Shelley would say what she meant. I would do anything not to say what I meant and confront. I mean, there's so many differences.
There was a lot of talk, which I know far after the fact, that not all the actors were completely patient with the process of Ted and I really needing to work out the dynamic between Sam and Diane. I mean, it was there on the page, but it was a question of, okay, well, do you take it this far? There was, like a play, like a well-written play, there was room for interpretation. And so I had questions, as I usually do. Some people are patient with those, some are not. But I felt that that process was really necessary for me to get to know this character.
Nick Colasanto said, if you do not put everything out on the table, if you do not be truthful with each other, you know, and get your grievances out on the table, and if you don't, you know, treat each other with respect, you will, you know, destroy yourself. But otherwise, this show will go on forever.
In terms of the chemistry of the actors on the set, you had the character of Shelley Long really was at odds with the rest of the ensemble, and her character was. And it's like any play that you do. I mean, a little bit of who the character is starts getting acted out off stage.
So whatever tensions there were, and they were minor, were around the work. You know, it was never about anything else. It was always around the work.
All differences aside, the show seemed destined for a long ride at the top of the ratings, until tragedy struck the set. Nick Colasanto, coach, was deathly ill.
I remember one of his last, I think his last episode was Albania, where they were taking geography class together, you know, to make up high school credits. And I couldn't learn because I was sleeping with a teacher and I hadn't really tried, so he was going to teach me. And I remember Nick had the hardest time remembering lines because he's getting less and less oxygen, literally, to his brain as he was dying. And I remember being really grumpy with him that he wouldn't, as the night got longer and longer, he couldn't remember his lines. And that was the last time he did the show. We did about a month worth of shows without him, and then he came to visit us. And then when he came walking in that day, he looked like a little old Italian man, you know, holding on to his friend's arm.
On February 12, 1985, Nick Colasanto died of a heart attack.
Oh, it was so terrible when Nick died. I loved him so much. I love him to this day.
It was a shock to everyone, the cast, the crew, and the audience.
He was truly the heart and the soul. He was the innocence of Cheers, so it was very sad. It was a personal loss. When he died, I think there was a great fear that the heart and soul had been lost.
On the creator's part was to say, well, we're not going to just go for another older guy who's a father figure to Sam.
We knew we wanted to go younger. Number one, we didn't want another old bartender, but also we were following Family Ties, and Michael Fox was a big breakout star, and the kids were watching that, and we thought if we went a little younger with Woody, that maybe we could get some overflow of the kids. So that was, you know, the ingredients that went into finding Woody. When the boys wrote the part, his name was Woody, and Woody Harrelson came in. Blew his nose in the audition. That was the first thing he did. He came and blew his nose.
Door and blew his nose, yeah.
23-year-old Woody Harrelson had only acted professionally a few times before, but he got the character at once. Young, virile, rough around the edges, with a certain naive sweetness.
Wow, Christmas comes earlier every year, doesn't it?
Well, I think if you check, Sam, it always comes on the 25th of December.
Of course.
Woody, I'm going to sit up straighter for Woody. Woody was like, I never had a brother. Woody was like, for me, this, younger brother, older brother that I never had. He's like really mature and far more mature than I am. I remember when he came, I was 37 and he was 25. You all don't have to remember back, but at age 37 is when you realize you're not 25. It just dawns on you. You wake up one morning and go, wow. Well, my dawning was Woody Harrelson.
Woody was not just a welcome addition to the set. Behind the cameras, he was a prankster, a bad little brother that the cast and crew came to love. In a sense, he added more than a new character to the show. He added a whole lot of fun.
He became a rascal because he would bring out the boy in all of the cast. The squirt guns, the water balloons, the running around chasing, grabbing each other. It got... we didn't do it. Nicky was the father figure, but Woody, when Woody came around, it was like this bad younger brother, and it was great. It was great.
It was the typical bar full of guys. It was the typical fraternity. It was the typical whatever, where, oh, here comes the new guy. Okay, all us older guys are going to test ourselves against him. And I arm wrestled with him. And I was stubborn enough not to lose, but I spent about a good part of a half hour in this position. To this day, I have a little chip here that, won't go back into place because of Woody Harrelson.
Others, too, would find their way to the doors of Cheers, like Dr. Fraser Crane, every bit as smart, as pompous, as insecure as Diane.
I remember there was a guy who was more handsome than Kelsey, a little more muscular, a little kind of a rugged, handsome guy. And I went and I said, gee, that's the guy I'd put in. And, of course, Charles Brothers and Jimmy Burrows go, oh, no, we want this guy over here.
The story of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is one of the most unrealistic and therefore potentially damaging in all of children's music.
The three of us were in love, so it was going to be Kelsey.
First, the other reindeer tease and then ostracize him, and then when his abnormality proves of service, they use him.
Kelsey we always would describe as a surgeon, because his delivery was so precision-like. Just a wonderful wordsmith.
Not only would Donner, Blitzen, et al. not love him and shudder with glee, but they doubly despise the bulbous-nosed little whip.
Kelsey Grammer joined the gang at Cheers as a new regular, a sensitive psychiatrist pining after Diane, desperately trying to fit in with the men at the bar.
When he came on, he was such an eager, good psychiatrist, patient. And after Shelley, dismissed him a number of times, he turned to drink.
In the ever-expanding family of Cheers, the producers would hit gold again with another character, a match for Fraser Crane. In fact, more than a match for him. Her name, Dr. Lilith Sternin. Broadway actress Bebe Neuwirth was living in L.A. when she got the script for Lilith.
They said hair, real tight bun, slicked back, because there was a line in it where Kelsey's character said, I've grown tired of counting the comb marks in your hair. So being a ballet dancer, I went, oh, I'll just put my hair back in in that bun. And I had, my hair was all slicked back and I was all buttoned up and dressed what I thought the character was.
Good afternoon, Dr. Crane.
Dr. Sternin, what a lovely surprise.
I hope I can regard that as civility in light of today's situation rather than sarcasm at my expense.
No, that was completely at your expense.
She was funny, and we went, oh, my God, they're the same. That's a female version of him, and it became such memorable stuff.
She was a date for Fraser. One episode. She was just a date.
We were knocked out by it.
The producers loved Lilith, but Bebe wasn't so sure she loved television. When they asked her to do more episodes, she was conflicted. Still, something about the character drew her back. The severe, yuppie psychotherapist, harsh, opinionated, but with a hot, animalistic heart beneath her cold fish exterior.
The character of Lilith, it's interesting. People say stuff about her, and it actually, kind of hurts my feelings sometimes, the things that they say, because to me, she really broke my heart. Because I saw her as someone who just was very awkward being around people. She wasn't trying to be mean. She was utterly honest. She understood all about the psychology of people, but she just couldn't be with them.
With all the new additions, Cheers was riding high. about to become the #1 show in America in 1986, until a key member of the cast announced she was leaving for good.
It was really, really a hard decision. Maybe the most difficult decision I ever made, because I so loved the process of doing the show, doing the acting. I mean, it's, for an actress, it's a dream come true.
Shelley Long had been working in films during the summer breaks, starring opposite Tom Cruise in Losing It and Tom Hanks in The Money Pit. Now she felt she wanted to pursue her film career full-time.
Her contract was up after 5 years, and there were rumors that she was going to be leaving, and she came to our office and made the announcement. And so we weren't terribly surprised. We knew we weren't going to fold our tent. We knew we weren't going to quit. A lot of people had written us off. A couple of critics said that when Shelley Long walked out the door, that's the end of Cheers.
On May 7th, 1987, the last episode with Sam and Diane aired.
There was a lot of tension around that, because the cast later admitted, specifically Ted, that they were scared that the show would not succeed without me. And I really wasn't concerned about that, because here were all these incredibly talented people, incredibly talented actors, incredibly talented writers, directors. It really didn't cross my mind that I was sabotaging a show.
I just lost a dance partner, you know, what will it be like without her, you know? What if everyone tunes out and it was just about Shelley or something? You know, there was a lot of fear.